Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ing. And Joyce, we're finally gonna spill the beans on Blitz.
I feel like a lot of people have been waiting for not just us, but everyone to talk about this movie. We've gotten some questions about it, as you've told me,
Gotten
which
several
I
emails
can't
about
answer
Blitz.
yet because
Yes,
it was under embargo.
we've gotten several emails about Blitz. We were not able to talk about it in more detail than just saying we had seen it. And just the mere fact that we had seen it and made some moves in our picks sent
I,
people
I made
into a
nothing. No,
sent
no
people into
changes.
a tizzy. Well, the fact that you didn't make any moves, I guess, knowing that you had seen it, and the fact that I have been very finicky on my picks, led people not astray, but just a lot of trying to figure out what it all
Curious.
means.
Yes.
So we're going to talk Blitz later. Here, we're going to do our all our below the line picks, which I think will have Blitz coming into the conversation as well.
Yes.
We're starting with Blitz, Joyce. We saw it a couple weeks ago. It just premiered. You're watching this on a Thursday, or listening to it on a Thursday. Premiered at the London Film Festival on Wednesday night, and is at the New York Film Festival to close it out Thursday night. Joyce,
Hmm.
what you think of Blitz?
Well, first of all, we're recording this on Tuesday before the premiere and the embargo lifts.
Yes,
So,
we're time traveling.
yes, for time traveling. But the word I keep coming back to for it is nice. It's
Okay,
like a very nice movie, nicely made, looks nice, great gowns, beautiful gowns, nice acting, and it kind of it makes you feel nice by the end. I mean, I think if you know the log line of the film, you can kind of figure out in which direction it goes. Um, and I've had several conversations about the film with some people the last couple weeks. Some of them have also seen the film, and some of them have not seen it yet. And um, the ones who have not seen it yet, I think, are kind of surprised when I describe what the film is, because the film is uh really from the perspective of Elliot Heffernan, the 9-year-old kid. He's the sole lead of that film, and the movie is like if Empire of the Sun and Hope and Glory had a baby.
great. I thought of Warhorse also.
Sure.
Uh, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. It's a totally acceptable, fine movie. My
Yes.
thing was watching it was if anybody other than Steve McQueen directed it, I think you would have thought it was really fine and good. But
Yes.
I think the expectations because it's a Steve McQueen film. Not that I'm the biggest Steve McQueen scholar, Joyce. I've seen a lot of his movies. 12 Years a Slave, great. Widows is my fave. You know I love a movie like that. Uh, Shame was really good too. So I'm not the biggest like Steve McQueen scholar. That said, I think you come into a Steve McQueen movie maybe expecting certain things, and this feels way more like mainstream. Without is that would that be a fair thing to call it? I guess not
Yeah, yeah.
surprising.
Yeah, and I think like the movie is not a hot piece of trash at all. It's
No,
totally solid.
no, it's
Um,
very watchable.
yes, very watchable. I think a lot of moms will like it. It's a total mom movie, you know?
Yes,
And yes, I agree. I think there are such sky high expectations for this movie because is Steve McQueen and it's been a while since he's had a film. So everyone wants this to do well for him too and to have him back in the conversation, win another Oscar maybe. And yeah, I agree. If you knew that a non-auteur was making this film, there would not be the same expectations for it. And it like the film kind of I don't know, okay, like no shade, but if like like Ron Howard or like Tom Hooper could have directed this film and no one would be critiquing this, like legitimately.
I thought Ron Howard. I thought Peter Farrelly. I thought Tom Hooper. Very much that's the vibe, but it's Steve McQueen. So you get
Yeah.
like there are aspects of the movie that I think are like A plus plus. Production design, costume design, the score is good. Like all these facets are good. Saoirse Ronan is very good. Actually, the entire cast, for the most part, I found like really strong. But it is very much like you said, Elliot Heffernan's film. He plays George, who's the small boy. Everyone else is supporting. If you're expecting big roles from any of these people, you should not. Saoirse
Yeah,
Ronan obviously has like the biggest supporting role, but she is clearly supporting. And like we said when we talked about Blitz a couple weeks ago, after we had seen it, in terms of like her placement, the most obvious when you watch the movie, it's not a surprise at all. It's not category fraud or anything. She is
yeah,
clearly supporting character.
yeah. This is not like Michelle Williams or Lily Gladstone the last 2 years where it's highly debatable.
Yeah.
Like she's like this is like more like ScarJo and Jojo Rabbit and like Katrina Balfe in Belfast,
Yes.
where they're like obviously supporting. And yeah, like everyone else is just kind of bit parts, like there's more of Harris Dickinson in the Baby Girl trailer than there is of Harris Dickinson in Blitz altogether.
I didn't
So
do a stopwatch, but I can't say it did. It felt like that, certainly watching Baby Girl versus Blitz. He definitely says more in the Baby Girl trailer than he does in
yes,
Blitz.
yes. Mhm.
Uh, yeah, did you mention Belfast there? That's another one that this really felt like.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
I
Elliot
think
will win the Critics' Choice Award for Young Performer or whatever it's called.
yeah, very much in play for that. So like so like that's the kind of movie it is. So I think if you're expecting like I don't know what are your expectations for a Steve McQueen movie nowadays? Like I don't even know, but whatever they are, I think it's like you said. Like we got a bunch of emails. One of them I didn't even get to read, but it was like, can Steve McQueen finally be the first black director to win Best Director? Is this gonna like give him that win? And like I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say no right now, but I'm like I don't know if that the movie will this is not that movie, I don't believe, but I do think it is going to be very well received by a lot of Academy members and like internet, like BAFTA vote. I feel like this is going to do well in certain spots.
Would you call it a love letter to London?
Wow, is it life affirming?
I mean, like maybe by the end, I found that the script a little wonky. If or it felt like there was stuff missing in the edit.
We were I don't want to like I don't want to like go into like specifics of the story. And I know people hate when we spoil things, but we both after were immediately like, where's the geography of this? Because a lot of the movie is he got sent away in World War II, right? They send the children off to the countryside during the Blitz. In case you're like, what is this movie about? Right, like during the London Blitz, he's sent off to the countryside by his mother and leaves on like a fraught note which is in the trailer. Kind of like all this stuff is in the trailer. None of this would be a spoiler. And then has to make his way home, right? Like that's the whole story. Is like he leaves and then has to come back, get off the train and come back. And that's it. And while that's happening, obviously London is under attack every night, massive bombings, and he is like basically like you said, like Hope and Glory or Empire Sun. He's meeting or like he's just meeting a
It's
bunch of
like a
different
video game.
people.
He crosses paths with
Right.
characters.
It's very episodic in that way. So it like here's a group of boys that he meets on the train, and then here's a character played by Stephen Graham. Here's a soldier played by Benjamin Clementine, and all these different people that he's coming in contact with as he tries to make his way home. And uh, yeah, I don't know. Like that's basically the story.
Well, yeah, it's so the movie covers 3 days. It's a very short period of time.
Yes,
Um, and I think like there might have also been an expectation that Saoirse is a lead because I think in the log line it says that like she searches for him. And I would say that it's not entirely accurate. Um, like yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but I would say that uh like she's not aware that he is missing for a while. So she's not if you think she's like actively looking for him in the for most of the film, that's not really the case.
when we were
It's
talking
more
about this,
passive,
yes,
like her scenes.
when we were talking about this over the summer, I think we also mentioned like Lion as a comp where it's like the
Yeah,
boy goes missing and then the mom is trying to find the boy. That's actually not what it is at all. And like you said, it's way more focused on
like him
George
making his
and
journey back
yes.
home.
And like in terms of like a love letter to London, I think it is definitely like, and McQueen has talked about this in terms of like it's viewed through a child's eyes and like what a child sees during wartime and trying to relate that to nowadays is not that difficult, I would say, in a lot of different conflicts around the world. And so I think it's like, and then there are parts where it's like a love letter to the determination of like London citizens, I would say. And it definitely
Yeah,
feels like in terms of like not the diversity of the people you're meeting in this film felt unique to me in a World War II movie, whereas usually just a bunch of
yeah, for
white
sure.
people, right? And
Yes,
this is like
definitely.
not. at all. There's like a lot of different cultures and a lot of different races and stuff kind of blending together and trying to get through this uh horrific event in World War II. So that's kind of like the thing. So I do think it will play like life affirming or like a love letter to the determination of the entire British and London like citizenry, not just the white guys and gals that we've seen in other World War II movies.
Yeah, and he's talked about this. I think it was in The Guardian last week. He talked about this and how he didn't just want to make a like a generic war movie about like, the actual Blitz or whatever. Like he wanted to focus on civilian life and the ordinary people, and also show the diversity of London. And yeah, because usually in media, uh World War II films, you just see white dudes
Right.
and white people. So, and
And
like, yeah, racism is also a theme in the film. Because obviously, George is half black
yes.
in the film. So that's a through line, and yeah, there's a lot of different races and cultures depicted. And there's also several flashbacks too. So you do see kind of like what you're saying, the the British like civilian life, like before these attacks, like what everyone was doing and just how this war was affecting them and how in a split second it could all go away.
One of the things I really actually liked about the movie is that aspect of the script and like the way it's like the idea of like here is a regular like a very recognizable, very famous city where there's just literally bombs going off every night
Yeah, and then
and
you hear them coming, you gotta like take shelter in the tube, the subway station.
and the rest of your life is just going on like normal, going to work, playing stickball in the street, like going to the bar, and like you that disconnect or it just felt like very interesting to me to see it presented that way. It's not like a war, it's like it's a war movie, but it's not like say there's not like battle
There's no
scenes.
battles.
There's a couple of like
There's like
intense
there's like
sequences
yeah,
that are
like
shown in the
well,
trailer too, of like
yeah,
the
it's more, I
bombings.
mean, you see some of like, the some of the Blitz. Not
Yes,
there's not a lot of it, and then you
right.
just see the civilians like running to safety.
Yeah, it's actually really so like all like I guess the my takeaway was like it's a solid movie. It just is like I guess my own fault for expecting maybe like a different like should I over expectations on like a Steve McQueen movie about this topic when it just is actually like a really solid entertaining movie that I would actually recommend to pretty much anyone. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like very watchable. It's only like 2 hours. So you're not like you don't have to do the caveat of like, well, the brew list is 3.5 hours, but I gotta tell you, it flies and it's really great and the intermission is cool and like give it a shot. And it's not like I've seen shorter movies and longer movies slightly a lot recently, and they put me to sleep, Joyce. And this one I was engaged with for the whole time. So
Yeah.
like I feel like all of that is good. I just was like you said, like by the end, I was like, it's very nice. It's like a solid movie, and I do think that will have it play. The more I've thought about it since we saw it 2 weeks ago, and the more I've seen like other things this season, and like we're still waiting on like Gladiator and Wicked and A Complete Unknown, which as we're recording, Choice, the trailer came out
Not
today,
nearly enough walking in it. So
and Juror number two, which I'm psyched for. As we're waiting for all these movies to come, uh, and knowing what's already came, I think Blitz like I had Blitz in for Best Picture, and I remain firmly in believing that it will remain a Best Picture nominee. I think it's still lower tier, but I do think it will make it in because of what we're saying. Where I think it's like an appealing movie that I think a lot of older voters will probably like and will appeal to like a lot of British
yeah, I guess
voters.
I would say it feels traditional, and that's not derogatory, but I
Yes,
think in like a film Twitter lens, it is derogatory because you expect, quote, more from Steve
yes.
McQueen.
I think that's what it is. And I actually would say like I don't know if you we really didn't talk about Conclave, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, but I don't think it's I like my take on it was like not much dissimilar to it's not as
Yeah,
silly as
like imagine if
Conclave.
Ever Berger directed this movie.
Right, but it doesn't feel like much different to me than my response to Conclave, which was like, hey, this is a
No.
well-made, totally it's not my favorite movie. It's not the kind of movie that I would be like obsessed with, like Honora or like, whatever, but like
But
it's like a
it's a
good
movie that
movie.
like a lot of normies would like. I think
Yes.
both of them.
And so that's why I actually think it'll do really well in terms of like it'll still get in for best picture. I feel like that was my big takeaway where I'm like I think it's in for best picture. And I don't know
Yeah,
what
like
you would do to take it
I
out.
never took it out. Like I had it in
Yeah.
Best Picture before I saw it like 3 weeks ago. And it's still there. I guess maybe some people, anyone who's been stalking our predictions
Yes. There
is
are those.
disappointed that we
Yes.
didn't move it up after we
Yes.
saw it. But I do feel like it will probably be in that lower five range.
Yeah.
You know, you
Right
could
now,
still get
yeah.
in and maybe have some crafts. I don't know really about above the line. And yeah, like it's like it's very inoffensive, you know.
Yeah. I have it at 10. I've been toying it between 9 and 10. I don't believe like these are just like I don't think it really matters if it's in, it's in. You know what I mean? And if you're not going to win, you're last, as Ricky Bobby would say in Talladega Nights. But yeah,
You
I
know
think
what
it's
I
in.
just thought of right
What?
now, what it
What?
reminds me of,
What?
and like the whole like trajectory of like the pre-screening expectations, Nightmare Alley.
Yes.
Like, I mean
Exactly.
that one was more like, you know, it's Guillermo del Toro's follow-up, his first film since Shape of Water. A lot of high expectations for it. Everyone, before anyone saw a single frame of it, predicted everywhere above the line, a billion acting nominations for Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett, who did get SAG, Rooney Mara and everything. And then like I like Blitz more than Nightmare Alley, I would
I
say.
agree.
But and like the reaction or the reception to Nightmare Alley was far more mixed, but it still snuck in there with a couple below the line nominations in
And
the end.
and I think that's a very much a trajectory this movie could do as well. So I had Steve McQueen in. We had talked about this when we did our best director picks, and we're not going to go through all our picks, but just in terms of Blitz, allow me to just pontificate about my picks. I had McQueen in, and then now I don't. I have Denis Villeneuve in, and then I took out Edward Berger. So we were when we were doing our picks, it was like, oh, I think it'll be Denny or like there's got to be one brand name director to me, right? Like in this year, even though there are not many like big ticket directors, right? I would say like there's no Scorsese or Nolan or whatever, Spielberg. So I was like, well, it'll be Denny or Steve McQueen. I had Steve McQueen, and I took him out for Denny because I just think like the achievement of Dune 2 maybe is uh more of a slam dunk there than McQueen, and I have Cor- Coralie Farjay in for the substance now, just on a lark, because I think there'll be more passion for her in like not that it's her versus McQueen or whoever, but I just felt like there wouldn't be a lot of strong passion for McQueen. I think he would be like 4 or 5 for a lot of people. And I think that risks him missing. And I know you never had him in, I don't think, so it's probably irrelevant for you.
I didn't have him, but the only thing I did last week was I dropped Ramel Ross for Denis.
Nice.
So I can still see Ramel doing it, but I don't know. I don't know what to do with Nickel Boys. That's like another conversation.
Let's say that one. I have really strong thoughts on that. I think I know exactly what it's going to do. But and then for supporting actress, this one, Joyce, I saw like people were telling me like my moves were affecting Redditors, Joyce.
You're such a hit on the subreddit,
I'm not even looking
apparently.
at it, but I was told. So I had Saoirse in, and then I dropped her, and then I put her out, and then I dropped her again, and now I don't have her in.
And that made the subreddit?
I think it did, or what? I was told
Congratulations.
like last week when we saw Maria that or and Emilia Perez that this is happening. But I don't have her in. I don't think it's impossible that she gets in, but I have supporting actress, and I'm more bullish I think than most people on Selena Gomez. Like I have her top three to me because I just think Emilia Perez will be like an absolute steamroller in a lot of categories, and I think the enthusiasm for the performances will carry her through, and she's friends with all these famous people that will help her. And I still have Isabella Rossellini in because I think her one scene in Conclave is great and people love her. And then I went back to Felicity Jones, who you were like very more high on than me.
Oh, did you talk to four people who actually liked her performance in the past week?
I've not talked to anybody who's actually liked it, but I just think that I guess I was like the movie I think is stronger than Blitz. And so I think like while Saoirse should or probably will get in for Outrun, I still believe that. I think like I'm not sure she'll make it in for this. So I don't have her in right now. But I think she's like in that 6, 7, 8 range. So if she made it in, I wouldn't be surprised, I guess.
Yeah, she can definitely make it in. I have never had her in. I mean, first of all, she wasn't even an option in supporting until like 2 weeks
Correct.
ago. So,
Yes.
and that was after we had seen it, and then that was like more than a week after we saw it, and like I had time to sit with the film by then, but I was like, I don't know, like if she can do it, and it like the movie can still make it into Best Picture without her, and like it's a nice performance. She sings in it. You know, very, I think that's probably like her biggest scene, would you say, in the film? It's definitely the
Yes.
longest.
It's definitely her longest. And then there are other scenes. There's a lot of scenes of her with Elliot. I like
Yeah, like I think I would say she has the most screen time in the beginning because before she sends him off. And then she sings in this scene at she works in a munitions factory and she is basically like the employee of the month. And the BBC comes to highlight her. And she sings this original song that you thought was real.
I also was like I did think it was real. It absolutely sounded real. Nicholas Bertel.
It was a great pastiche. But the
Very
longer you hear
festive.
the song, you just kind of were like, it sounds like old timey, but like not real, you know?
It sounded like how did they get such perfect lyrics? I guess that was
Because
literally what I was
Nicholas
thinking. Like,
Bertel and
how did
Steve
they
McQueen
find
wrote
this
it.
song? This is like a really good song. It fits so perfectly with the theme of the movie. And then it was fake or not fake. It's written for the movie.
Um,
So
Steve McQueen, did you see this interview with him that published in the wee hours of this morning?
I didn't read it yet, but I saw it.
Yeah, he talks about it. Like he always wanted to write um this song in honor of his dad. He said that song Winter Coat was initiated by me because my father, when he died, left me his winter coat, and I'd
Wow.
always wanted to make a song about the idea of this textual nature and physical nature of remembering someone. So that's nice, you know.
I also was like, I don't think I don't again. Well, love Saoirse Ronan. I've seen her in a lot of things. Has she ever played a mom before? I don't think she
No,
ever.
this is her. Well, I mean, no, yeah.
Right? Like I was like, I thought that was like interesting to see her in that kind of capacity, and I was like, oh, this is like it's like it felt like a good
And also like a mom of a 9-year-old, not like a baby, you know.
yes, and it felt like a good stretch for her. I felt like even though like she's not in, it's not like she's like it's not like a meaty part in terms of like the screen time or anything, but like I felt like that was like really interesting. So I think she's like really good in it. But I was just looking at the list of like, so you have Zoe Saldana. I feel like is like obviously is in like front runner to win maybe has like the biggest role in terms of screen time and like great narrative in a movie that people seem to really love. Daniel Deadweiler for Piano Lesson movie not as loved, but I think she's pretty safe and she's really good in it, and also a borderline lead. Selena Gomez I have in for Emilia Perez. That's maybe the outlier, but like I was saying, like I think the movie is so strong. She's really good in the movie and has a lot of memorable moments. I think she could make it in as a double nominee here or like a coattail nominee. Isabella Rossellini and then Felicity Jones, both of whom are in these strong movies for Best Picture nominations and like good. So then there's Saoirse, Anjanae Ellis Taylor for Nickel Boys are next in the odds, and then like Toni Collette and Joan Chen. So it's not that deep. And I guess if Selena Gomez isn't going to make it in, I could see Saoirse make it in. I think Anjanae Ellis Taylor, like you said, there's a we'll talk more about Nickel Boys, but I think we both would agree you don't walk away from that movie singing the praise of the performances, not that they're bad, but because of the filmmaking style, it makes it hard to value judge the performances like you would traditionally.
Yeah, that's why I think it will struggle at SAG.
So I'm like, Saoirse could get in. I could see her getting in at SAG, frankly. I could see her even getting in at BAFTA, and maybe she gets into the Oscars. But it just feels like these other, I guess to me, I'm like the other movies are just stronger movies, and I wonder if that will prevent her from getting in.
It could, yeah. I mean, I that's partially why I have not added her
And like,
to, and
obviously, Blitz is stronger than Piano Lesson, but I feel like Piano Lesson Danielle has the advantage of being like a very big performance, where Saoirse is not that.
it's like a borderline lead.
Yes, and she gets to do a lot more, I think, than Saoirse does.
Yeah, and I guess you could argue in favor of Saoirse, like she theoretically has the stronger film than
Yes.
Danielle, and like Danielle could very well be a lone nominee for the
Yes.
piano lesson if it doesn't make it in anywhere, so that could give Saoirse an edge.
I think that's what would be hoping for, but I think like most people probably don't have Selena Gomez in and have the easy five, which is like Zoe, Danielle, Isabella Rossellini, Felicity Jones, and Saoirse Ronan. But I do think Selena Gomez, based on the types of performances that have gotten in, and based on like how that movie I think will work, like I think she'll be like the Jamie Lee Curtis of this year. Not that she'll win, but I mean that she'll get in unexpectedly, maybe.
I think People might just be hesitant on Selena because of
Who she
um
is.
her, yeah, who she is. And then, everyone got burned with J-Lo, but I think they're completely different and they have completely different films because J-Lo would have been a lone nominee and she
I
got bumped for Kathy Bates. So
Yeah, no disrespect to Selena Gomez, who like I love and is great in the movie, but if she was in Hustler, she would not be getting nominated, I would say.
no.
If it was Hustler, she would not be getting it, but because she's in Emilia Perez, I think she will. Um, yeah, I didn't put it in for screenplay like you said. It would be original screenplay. Um, I feel like that category is actually very
It's
competitive,
very crowded and I made some
and
changes and I don't even know, like I already want to like go back.
so here I have a Nora the Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5, and Saturday Night.
So and I have Honora, Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th, and Hard Truths. So now I'm like back all in on Hard Truths.
You loved Hard Truths.
I love Hard Truths. I also put Marianne Jean-Baptiste into Best Actress. You
Wow.
remember I had like both of them in March.
So who'd you take out?
For actress, I just dropped Amy. I was gonna keep her until I've seen Night Bitch, which I haven't yet, but after seeing Hard Truths last week and then having a couple days, I'm like, I'm just gonna put Marianne back
And
in.
then so you don't have Saoirse in, or you don't have Nicole in then?
I don't have Saoirse in. I don't have
Okay.
Saoirse in at all. So sorry. Just I love Saoirse. I don't. It's hard to find room.
So I have Saoirse in for Outrun, and if I was gonna drop her or Nicole, I would drop her for Marianne Jean Baptiste. But for now, I'm gonna keep Saoirse in for Outrun because I just think I haven't seen Hard Truths. I didn't get to go to the P and I screen that you went to. But I know you loved it. I talked to a lot of people who loved it. And my sense, and tell me if this is my impression is it's a difficult she plays a difficult character.
She does, but the film is also so funny and she has so many funny moments. Like the movie is funny until it's not. Like the
Right.
turn happens so quickly. And then by that point, I feel like for even like normies and basics who don't like unlikable quote women, I think they'll be so invested by that point that it won't even matter that, she's so unlikable. And I think she could be helped by the passion with um the preferential ballot for nominations. Like I think she can get the number ones, whereas like I don't know about maybe like Saoirse has a lot of raves for that film, but I don't think there would be is the same passion for her for that performance in the outrun that as there is for Marianne and Her Truths.
I can't disagree. And I feel like again, sight unseen on Hard Truths for me. It seems like there's way more passion for that than there is for Saoirse and Outrun, who is good and who is great in a good movie. And Marianne Jean Baptiste is like doing like an undeniable thing and like the number one. It's like a seems like an obvious number one getter. And we talked about this for a while. I'll still bet on for now at least. I'll still bet on Sony Classics getting Saoirse in for this performance than Bleecker getting Marianne Jean Baptiste in for her performance.
Yeah, we talked about this last week where you asked if I would have Marianne in if Sony were behind Hard Truths, and I said yes. So I'm crossing my fingers for Bleecker. Don't let
Not
me
that
down.
they can't do it. And I think
Not
they
that they can't
can.
do it. It's yeah, and Sony also has a lot of ladies in Best Actress.
They do, but having seen Room Next Door, I think it's not as dicey as I expected.
No, and I think it's still the same situation where I think Tilda Swinton would have the edge over Julianne Moore
Yes,
for a spot if only one of them got it.
I think so too, but I don't think either one of them is going to get in. All right, so we're talking about Blitz. We're going to do our below the line picks, Joyce.
You have Blitz everywhere in all these categories.
10 nominations for Blitz. No, but I do think it'll perform better than maybe we've made it sound. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
We don't hate the movie. I hope
No, I
that's
think it's
clear.
good. I think it's
Yeah,
good.
it's a good movie.
Uh, So we're gonna go through our below the line predictions. See where here we're gonna start with cinematography. Immediately, I don't have Blitz, just this as FYI. But here's what I ended up with in the odds in odds order. I'll just read what I have. I have Dune Part Two. I have Maria, The Brutalist, Emilia Pérez, and Nickel Boys.
Okay.
Those are the five in the odds. Though The Brutalist is first, then Dune, then Emilia Pérez, then Maria and Nickel Boys.
I have The Brutalist, Maria, Dune, Nickel Boys, and Amelia.
Okay. So you think The Brutalist will win cinematography?
It can, but I mean, you know me and nominations. Like having number one doesn't mean I think it's gonna win.
Right.
Sometimes it means I think it's the most likely to get nominated. But
So I feel like the top four, my top four, I feel like very confident in. I think Maria will get in. Ed Lockman, I think it actually win because of like, you know, they have a great narrative, right? Love Ed Lockman. Dune could win, obviously won previously. The Brutalist, great, looks awesome. Emilia Perez, I think, is like really cool and inventive, and the way it looks is memorable, so I think that helps. And then I stuck Nickel Boys in there because it's clearly like a big swing, and I think like this is one of the nominations I think it will get is for cinematography.
yeah, for Jomo Frey.
Yes,
Um, and yeah, like they're the that branch is not afraid to you know, go their own way and make their own decisions.
correct.
So
Uh, those are the top five in the odds, just in different order. Sixth is Conclave.
I can see it.
I thought maybe, but I actually would think of it more seriously in other of these categories. Gladiator is in seventh. Nosferatu is in eighth. Nosferatu in a lot of these odds is like in this 6 to 10 range. It feels like it's also Nightmare Alley, maybe, or people are hoping it'll be. And then Blitz after that, followed by Anora and Joker Folie à, which I actually don't think is a total. It would not surprise me if it gets in for Lawrence Shear,
I
but
kind of hope it does because then people will be so mad.
I think it'll actually. So I saw Joker, Joyce, and I gotta say, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, and it's a hard movie I think to love, but it's not a total flop. I understand why it flopped with Cinema Score because they just did not tell people it was a musical. I had people walking out of my movie, and I only had 7 people in my movie screen, in my showing.
And you were the only one left by the end.
I wasn't the only one left, but I mean, people literally walked. There was like the people behind me just got up and left. Like I was like, I'm not surprised because if you didn't know it was a musical, like, and how would you? Because the trailers didn't really show that. You would be like, what the fuck is this? I want out of here. And so that's what I think is reflective of the D cinema score. Anyway, long story short, I think there's a like decent merit to it in a lot of places. It doesn't totally work. It seems like it's I would be probably a little negative on it overall, but I don't think it's like a calamity in terms of like the crafts and like all these things. So if Lawrence Shore got in for it, I would not be shocked, but I don't think he'll get in. I guess long way of saying.
Yeah, I kind of hope he does because like people will be so pissed and they'll just be like, Joker got an Oscar nomination.
Uh, costume design choice. I got Dune Part Two, Wicked, Gladiator Two, The Great Gowns and Beautiful Gowns of Maria, and The Great Gowns, Beautiful Gowns of Blitz.
I have the same.
Brutalist is in sixth, Nosferatu in seventh, Beetlejuice in eighth, Conclave in ninth, Great Robes, Beautiful Robes, and Emilia Perez in 10th.
Uh, yeah, I
What would it
think
take for Brutalist to get in here?
if it's like really strong,
Yeah,
like Oppie strong.
I
I
agree.
thought about the Brutalist, honestly.
So Jacqueline Duran, I think, did the Blitz costumes, right?
Yes, that's kind of why I did her.
Same. And they're gorgeous, and it also does that thing where it's like
He also did the Hard Truths costumes. So
memorable costumes in Blitz. Like it's like they're like the Saoirse looks, I think, are like memorable.
there's also yeah, there's a scene in like a fancy nightclub. Lot yeah, great gowns, beautiful gowns.
So I think that'll get it in. And the other one, we haven't seen Wicked and Gladiator, but it feels like they are costume friendly movies. So put them in.
Gladiator won last time.
Right. And Maria is literally Great Gowns, Beautiful Gowns,
Hmm.
the movie. So uh, for film editing choice, I've got The Brutalist, Anora, September 5, Dune Part 2, and I was torn on the last one, but I've got Emilia Perez in there for now.
Wow. I have The Brutalist, Anora, Dune, Conclave, and September 5th.
Okay. So I was torn on Conclave versus Emilia Perez. I could see Conclave making it in. We're both way more bullish on September 5 than a lot of regular people who are still trying to be like, why does this movie exist? And like, whatever. But the editing is awesome and it's so quick and it's like a great pace. I could also see Saturday Night sneaking in here, or Challengers, I thought of too, because they're both like great editing and would be great nominees. But I think Amelia Perez will probably could make it in because I do think making that whole insane amalgam of genres and tones work, I think is like an actual tribute to the editing. And so that's why I put it in. But maybe that's overthinking it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought about, yeah, I was torn between Amelia and Conclave. And um I I I feel like a lot of times like you expect like the flashy movie to get in and it doesn't, you know.
True. I could, like I said, I have it in fifth. In my picks, I just thought like I just think holding it all together feels like a real effort, and they did a great job. I think that it works is not just the editing, but it helps that it's like very well put together as a movie. So, but that's a really competitive category because I think there's a lot of
It
good
kind of
movies.
if it misses, it kind of reminds me not to say that Amelia will be as huge, but like it kind of reminds me of like when Barbie missed last year.
Hmm.
You know, like I don't think most people like that's the a stronger movie-ish or like a bigger movie at least you could say than like the holdovers that did
Yes.
get in,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. No.
So
And I think that's a good comp. But I went down with the ship with Barbie, and I will probably go down the ship with Emilia Pérez. Best makeup and hairstyling choice. I have The Substance, Dune Part Two, Wicked, Nosferatu, and The Apprentice.
wow. I have The Substance, Dune, Beetlejuice, A Different Man, and Nosferatu. So we have different sub movies.
So one of the other things I did this week, Joyce,
I did the same thing.
was I put Sebastian Stan in for Best Actor in my fifth
Same.
slot and said au revoir to Daniel Craig in Queer. And then I put,
Why French?
I don't know, I wanted to make it sound fancy. The movie's so fancy, so I had to make it sound fancy, Queer. And then I was like, I'm gonna put take Peter Sarsgaard out for supporting actor because I think that's much more of an ensemble play anyway. And I'm gonna put Jeremy Strong in for The Apprentice.
For our Roy Boys reunion.
And then I was like, I'm gonna put these guys in, and fuck yeah, I'm gonna put in for makeup too. It's a great makeup. I think the makeup work on Sebastian is amazing.
I mean,
So
the
if I'm
makeup
going
work
all
on
down,
Sebastian Stan and A Different Man is also amazing.
I know, but I think that I actually think I'm not convinced the different man is going to break through widely, even though its release seems like not
But I don't think that
insignificant.
matters for like
The
makeup and
branch,
styling.
right? I
So
understand.
I think that could maybe hurt him in actor. So like that's why I did him for The Apprentice and not A Different Man. Um, but yeah. So
And then you also did not have. So we have Nosferatu, Wicked, and Dune. Is that right?
I don't have Wicked.
Oh, you don't have Wicked. You had Beetlejuice. So
Yeah.
I'm out on Beetlejuice, but if Wicked flops, I'll put Beetlejuice in probably.
I mean, Beetlejuice is still doing well, so and I'm just like I haven't seen Wicked yet, so
Sure. Uh, all of these are good. I didn't really think of anything else. Sasquatch Sunset is a hilarious one because it's all makeup. But I don't think it'll make it in. I have The Substance winning just because I think it's great. The makeup is psychotic.
it
Well,
should win.
it should win. Production design, Joyce. I've got Dune Part Two. I'm just all in on Dune. As it turns out, I have it getting 10 nominations again, like the first one. I have The Brutalist, Gladiator 2, Wicked again, and Blitz. Though I really wanted to put Conclave in, but
Wow,
I went with
you're
Wicked.
all in on Blitz here.
I am all in. Well, I think the production design is actually crazy good, and it could honestly maybe win, but I don't think it will. But anyway,
I don't think it would win if it got in.
it's
I
Adam
have
Stockhausen is the production
yes,
designer, obviously.
I have The Brutalist, Dune, Conclave, Gladiator, and Wicked.
So that's funny. So you have I wanted to put Conclave, and I would have dropped Wicked for it. So you would drop Blitz for it. Okay.
Yes.
But I was like more in on Stockhausen because I was like, I think he's like a name brand.
There are a lot of sets in Blitz.
Yeah. And like a lot of memorable sets.
Yeah, and like things happen in the sets.
Yes. Now Conclave though, when I saw Conclave,
It's pretty, very pretty.
I was like absolutely production design. So that I don't have it in, I'm like, I don't know. Wicked. I'm very excited for.
Wicked I could see like dropping kind of like I feel like at this point last year I probably had Color Purple in here too, you know.
And I'm just worried that exactly right, like the color purple thing, and also it's obviously so many. Even though there are a lot of clearly shot in like practical environments. It is so digitally enhanced that I wonder if that will like hurt it with the branch. Maybe not because the branch understands how the visual effects and the production design work hand in hand, but maybe it still makes it feel like not as special as Conclave, which is like really cool and like a lot of great sets and finds. So I don't know. But I'll keep Wicked in there for now. This one we all love, Joyce. The best score. Here's what I got. The Wild Robot, Dune
Your
Part
favorite
2,
movie? You mean One Wild
One
Robot?
Wild Robot, Dune Part 2, The Brutalist, Conclave, and I honestly didn't want to put this in, and I could be convinced otherwise, but I kept it in, Emilia Pérez. But I really think Saturday Night should make it in because of John Baptiste. But I was like, can the musical that's going to get like 12 nominations and be a Best Picture frontrunner not get score? Is that possible? I guess it's possible, but I don't think the score is as memorable as the songs. So I don't know, but I have Amelia Present for now.
I have Conclave, which is the funniest score of the year.
Great score.
Um, Volker should win another one and give his one for All Quiet away to someone else. The Brutalist, Dune, Saturday Night, and The Room Next Door.
Oh, I thought of The Room Next Door too. That was actually the
It's
best part of the
Alberto
movie.
Iglesias,
Yes.
like Parallel Mothers, if that could happen, why not this?
So you're saying I can. So I'm gonna drop Amelia Present and put
What are you
Saturday.
just copy like you
No,
think
I'm
I'm giving you permission to drop Emilia Perez?
yes, a little. So now I can put Saturday. I'm putting Saturday Night in. I think Saturday Night will get in because I think John Baptiste is like branch approved and
I
like
I just did Saturday Night because it has the most music.
and it's like a big part of the narrative is that he was playing live on the set, which I think will do great. So you don't have One Wild Robot. This is the best score of the year by far. I actually think it could win. Chris Bowers is an Oscar winner, obviously not in this category, but I was like, I think he's also got name recognition now and like is part of the club. And yeah, I think it's getting in. But so I took out Amelia Perez now. Sorry, Amelia Perez, which I still think is going to win Best Picture. Room Next Door is a great pick though. Um, really the music was really good, so good that I was like, is this existing music? That's what I was wondering the whole time. I was like, because it reminded me a lot
Between
of like,
between this and Winter Code.
well, it reminded me a lot of like May December. Remember how May December was like
Oh yeah,
existing
that was great.
music, and like this is like that. It sounded like that to me, and
So
I
you're
was
just
like,
gonna think this about Julianne Moore movies.
well, I don't think they're that far afield. I think people took we don't need to talk about Room Next Door, I guess, right now, but like we did talk about this offline, and it was like I did feel like it's about obviously like assisted suicide and like cancer, so it's not a lighthearted romp, but it is very silly at times. I felt
It's
like
kind of like winky and
yes,
like the way it's presented with like the dialogue is a little bit stilted, like
heightened
unnatural, so to speak.
heightened dialogue, and it's like very it just felt very May December adjacent. Like I think that would actually make a good double feature with May December, and not just because it's Julianne Moore. And yeah, the music is the music really sets the tone. When we were watching the movie and the music came on, I was like, because I was wondering, like, the way the responses were, I was like, is this going to be just like a three hanky, like very heavy,
It's not at
weepy,
all.
and then the music comes on, and you're like, oh, it's this kind of movie. I like this kind of movie. This is fun, and so like, I do like that score a lot. I don't know how that movie will do otherwise. It's not inconceivable that he gets nominated though, but I'm gonna stick with. I wanted to go to Saturday Night. I wanted to do that the whole time, so now I feel like I did, and that's good. It's a great score, John Baptiste. Um, the other movies, man, Challengers is pretty high up in the odds. I'm not surprised.
No.
I don't think it'll get in. Resident Ross also did the music for Queer, which is actually way different than what they've done in a lot of the other Luca movies.
Yes.
It's pretty solid. And then there's a Hans Zimmer score for Blitz. Uh, I don't know. It wasn't super. My first impression is not as memorable as like his other
No.
scores. So, um, and we'll see what else ends up getting play here. I don't really know what else. Gladiator 2, I guess people are excited for. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I had that in before I swapped it for Room Next Door.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense. Uh, Next is Song, Joyce. So there's really only four slots because we know Diane Warren is getting in, right? So here's what I got besides Diane Warren. I have her in fifth, obviously. I have Kiss the Sky from One Wild Robot by Maren Morris, future Oscar winner. I have I Always Wanted a Brother, the Lin-Manuel Miranda song from Mufasa, the Lion King. I have Mi Camino and El Mal from Emilia Pérez, and then obviously Diane Warren for 6888. The Journey is her song.
Will I ever hear it?
No,
What if I make this my new thing, like No Time to Die, and I still haven't heard that song?
you will not hear this song.
Okay. I have Kiss the Sky from One Wild Robot. Harper and Will Go West from Will and Harper. Mi Camino from Emilia Perez. And We're Back from Moana 2.
Wow. So
And
you
then
went with
obviously
the
The Journey.
So you went off of Lin-Manuel Miranda and onto
I didn't know
the.
what to do. Like I was gonna do Kiss the Sky, obviously. And then I was like, I really don't think I have room for double Emilia. So I just picked one. And I picked Mi Camino,
So it's funny. El Mal is like runaway in the odds.
which
Um,
is Zoe's big number in the middle of the movie.
and here's what I want to know, and we'll probably spend a lot of time talking about this year. I have El Mal in fourth, and if I was actually going to drop one of these songs, I agree it would be that one because I played it for my wife, and she was like, "What is this death metal music you're playing?" And I was like, "I think without the movie and the scene, it's not a catchy tune. Whereas Mi Camino
It's the
is a
karaoke
real
scene.
is a real song,
Mhm.
and El Mal is like the moment in the movie is fantastic, and it's like the scene that probably will win Zoe Saldana her Oscar, to be real. But the song itself is not the memorable thing of that scene. It's the performance of the song and the dance and the what the song is saying. So I don't know if it actually matters because people watch the movie and be like, that song was great. I want to, but like maybe it kind of does. Like, what do you think about that?
So we kind of talked about this last week, but no shade. I don't think the songs in the movie are super memorable.
I
It's not like a
agree.
traditional musical.
It's
You
not
know
like
what I
La La Land.
No. Like I don't even like La La Land, but like I still know City of Stars, you know? And it's not because like these songs are in Spanish. I know Spanish, but I don't think like they stick with you in the same way that songs from a musical usually do. So I just kind of wonder if it will be strong enough to carry two slots in the first place. You
I,
know what I mean? Like
a hundred
it's
percent.
definitely not like Barbie last year where it was three songs fighting for two slots. You know, and
Yeah,
like everyone knows obviously what was I made for and I'm just Ken iconic, you know, and no room for dance tonight. Sorry to do a Lipa. But yeah, so then with this, I'm like, do I know everyone's like doing double Emilia, but I'm like, can it actually sustain two when I don't know how huge? I mean, like maybe like when the movie hits Netflix, it'll blow up and it'll be like number one on Billboard or something. I don't know.
I,
But
you never know, and it could. But like I said, like on first blush, and even you could listen to these songs right now on Spotify. They're on there. Right? You'll be able to listen to them. It's not like I have like a special advanced copy of the soundtrack, so it's already out. A lot of these songs, yeah, they're just that one is like I think that one is more about the performance in the movie than the song. And so like we always goof on this category because it's like credit songs and not meaningless stuff. But I'm like, so now I'm like kind of going opposite that by being like, well, this is an actual song in the movie, but I could just see one of these missing. I could see that one missing really truthfully. Even though I
yeah,
think it's great in the movie.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like it probably will get to, but I would not be surprised if it's just one ultimately. It'll be interesting to see how like I mean, there's not a lot of precursors for songs, but like what the Globes do, you know. I mean, they have six slots too,
I
so it could probably both get in.
I,
Um,
I would definitely be interested in that. I went with like Wild Robot, Kiss the Sky. That song is absolutely fantastic, and it's like the most emotional, one of the most emotional parts of the movie. It's like fully in the movie, and so I was like, this is I think this could win, but we'll definitely get in. Uh, Lin-Manuel Miranda for Lion King. I have no idea, but I was like,
yeah, I have
well,
no idea about this Moana song either, so I
and the
don't know.
Moana song is Barlow and Bear, who are Grammy winners or Grammy nominated, I guess. I'm sorry for their Bridgerton the musical that got unofficial Bridgerton the musical. And it would be really funny if Lin-Manuel Miranda, who maybe should have won his EGOT
He
Oscar
should have won for Moana.
for Moana, uh, lost a
He,
nomination to the replacement songwriters on Moana too because he was doing Lion King. That would just be like such irony. I don't know. I guess it's possible Diane Warren doesn't make it in, and all of these songs make it
I'm
in.
not gonna bet against her until it happens. So I'm
Absolutely
leaving her
not.
in
So
here. And then I did Will and Harper or Harper and Will Go West from Will and Harper because the songwriting is a huge part of the film because they call up Kristen Wiig in the middle of
yes,
the movie and they're
yes,
like, "Hey, we need a theme song. Like, will you be willing to write one for us?" And she's like, "Yeah." And it's a whole plot line in the last half of the
correct.
movie. Like they're calling her, like checking up on the song, like, "Do you have it yet?" And then it's a credit song, but not really
Yeah,
because like the credits is her, like FaceTiming them and it's like, "Oh, I finished it and I'll play it for you." And then you just hear the song at the end. So there's a nice payoff and it's a fun song. I think it sticks out from these other songs, having not heard two of them.
I, I everything you're saying is exactly right, and I think it were like it that it's Kristen Wiig is fun. That it's part of this movie I think is really fun. That it's on Netflix I think will really help. So I definitely could see it getting in. I, I'm not sure about the Moana 2 song, but I like I said, if I'm gonna drop one of the Amelia songs, it would be El Mal, even though it's the front runner to win according to our odds. I just think that Mi Camino is the more traditional song a year. If it got two nominations, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sticking with Lin because I just think that it's gonna. Why wouldn't he write a great song for Lion King, and why wouldn't it get in? I guess that's why I went with that over Moana. No disrespect to Barlow and Bear.
Will there be another Bruno situation this year? They submit the wrong song.
I gotta imagine that they learned from the last time, especially because it's Lin again. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure Lin was like,
But you don't know what's gonna hit with the
yeah, but
people.
he. I bet you he would have. I'm sure. I have to imagine he knew which song was the better song. I just do. Uh, I don't know. And then we have sound, Joyce, and visual effects, two left. Sound I'm torn on, but here is what I've got. I've got Dune Part 2. I've got Conclave, Gladiator 2, Wicked, and Emilia Perez.
Wow. I have Dune, Gladiator, Emilia, Blitz, and Twisters.
Wow. I'm shocked you don't have Conclave. It has the most memorable sound. It's the
I know, and
loudest
there's like
shit.
but I don't know, like I guess I could drop Twisters for it.
I mean, I love Twisters. It's like one of my faves of the year, but no way. I don't think that's gonna get
I
in
could also
here.
drop Blitz for it, but there is like, I mean, that it's very sound heavy by the end.
I dropped Blitz for Wicked, and I could go back to Blitz. I just was like, now that these are combined category, I guess obviously they're going to lean towards war movies, but I was like, I do think there's a whole discipline. Like Wicked and Amelia Perez would absolutely be in for like sound mixing if that was still its own thing. And like, I just was like, is that enough to get them both in for just sound? Right? You know what I mean? They would be like top two in sound mixing probably if we were had its own category.
Yeah, I just chose Amelia over Wicked, but they
Like,
could
yeah, I just
both
went
get
with
it.
both. I don't know. Like, does that matter? Like, the mixing just seems like it's a short shrift now because it's one category.
I mean, last year this category was Zone of Interest, The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible, and Oppenheimer. And then before that was Top Gun, All
And so,
Quiet,
like, Barbie didn't
Avatar,
make it
The
in.
Batman, and Elvis.
So Barbie didn't make it in last year.
No.
So I should drop Wicked and put Blitz in. Basically, that's what I'm gonna do. Just because I'm like, they don't take the musical aspect. Like Barbie should have been in. I think because it's like more of a musical than some musicals, frankly, even though it's not a traditional musical. Um, all right, and then visual effects, Joyce. I have Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Gladiator 2, Mufasa the Lion King, and Twisters.
Why are you copying me?
Uh, Twisters rules. It's great. It looks awesome. I thought the effects were great. Mufasa the Lion King is a cartoon that they make animals look real. So in. Same with Kingdom of Planet of the Apes.
I
Well
also
said.
thought about Here. I did have it in here before I replaced it with Twisters.
Yeah, I didn't think of Here. I thought of Furiosa because I think the visual effects in that are awesome.
Remember Furiosa?
It's so good. It was so good. One of the best movies of the year. Uh,
You can also do Blitz here, but I didn't.
I like it's not that kind of movie. And when they're actually like,
No,
it's just not. There's not. There are VFX shots, some of them better than others, but like, it's not that kind of movie to me.
no, not really.
It's just not a war movie. You know, it's not like a war movie like
No,
you think of with
it's
like
not like
shooting.
1917.
Right. It's like there is like a big sequence with like the plane and like some explosions and like some flooding and all
Yeah,
this
and there's
stuff, but
actually several scenes where like an attack is imminent and it cuts away and you don't actually
exactly. Yeah,
see it. Or
I'm
you
just
see
not
like the
gonna put it
beginning
in.
and like that's it. So
Yeah. Uh so those are our picks, Joyce, for below the line.
so this time next week you will drop Felicity again and put Saoirse back in.
I don't know what to do there. I think I'm gonna stick with it for now. I am really we're recording this obviously before the response. I
Oh
will
yeah,
say
like
like
tomorrow, like it could be like masterpiece, right? All raves for
so
it.
it'd be funny if like we
And
recorded
then you
this and
move it
then
up into like second.
everybody well it'd be funny if we record this is like with our actual take and then like everybody's like it's a masterpiece. That
Why?
said,
Would you bend to the consensus?
no, I also like I'll be curious. Like, it's funny talking about this now because, like, we'll see what people actually do. But we've talked to several people, all of
Yeah.
whom agreed with our general ideas,
Yes.
and on
And some of
letter
them we've talked to them together
and
who've seen
and
it.
and on Letterboxd, like you could see like some very early reviews were like 3 out of 5 or
I
three
think
and a
that's
half out
accurate.
of
Yeah,
five,
that's
and I would put like 3 or 3.5 out of 5 when I do my Letterboxd. And I just think like I'll be curious to see if like people are hanging 5 stars up on it. Like with Nickel Boys, I was like when I saw it at Telluride, everybody was like, "Huh, okay."
it's such not a Telluride movie
I know,
though.
but I'm just saying like the consensus at the time on the ground was like mixed, and then once a couple of people say it's great, everybody kind of piles on and says it's great. Though there are still a lot of people who aren't as hot on that movie as others. I don't think Blitz will be received the same way. I think it mostly will be like, "Hey, good movie."
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if there's like a 5 like I'm not saying it's not a worthwhile movie, but I don't think it's going to engender a lot of like the New York Film Critics Circle of 5 stars Nickel Boys reviews for
No.
Blitz.
No.
So
Yeah, it's totally solid. Excuse me, which is why I think it could still get into Best Picture. But
yeah,
like bottom half.
yeah.
So
Before we saw it, we were like bottom half. I mean, like, and we were like, we'll wrap up here, but I was like also just reading the tea leaves of the movie. Apple was releasing it, and it
yeah,
only
they
was
didn't
gonna,
partner up with anyone.
which maybe is now their new strategy because like Wolves, they just abandoned ship on,
Poor
and
Wolves.
does that come out yet, Joyce?
It comes out with season 2 of Shogun.
Great.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm like, okay, like maybe they're not doing as much stuff, but like the missing, like knowing Steve McQueen's deep relationships with some of the film festivals, that it didn't go to those earlier film festivals. Now he
Well,
might have
the
wanted to
party
just do
line is
it.
that like he wanted to premiere it in
I
London.
I get it, and I'm sure there's truth to that, but at the same time, would you really have bypassed those other film festivals if it was like the greatest thing? I don't
I mean,
know.
speaking of like not being at film festivals, after I saw Hard Truths, I was like, how did any festival turn this down? Which like Mike Lee has been open about, like being turned down at
I
festivals.
was again, I don't know what goes on with like this kind of stuff, but I was shocked that it wasn't at Telluride. Like going into Telluride, if you had asked me to make a list of movies that I expected to be there, Hard Truths would have been like in my top 5. And that it
Right?
wasn't there, I just thought was like strange that it went from Toronto to New York. It felt like it would have been a Telluride, New York kind of twosome to me.
I don't know. I don't know what goes on there. So
Who knows? Who knows how these things are decided? Not I,
we're not in
certainly.
the room where it happens.
No, that's a good Lin-Manuel Miranda reference. Joyce will be back tomorrow with our mailbag. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com, and we will not read what you send. We might, I guess. We're recording this earlier, but we record that early too. Yeah, email us
Yeah,
at
you can still
slugfest@goldderby.com.
email. I
Always
mean,
email.
this will go live Thursday, but we'll have your Wednesday emails.
Yeah, we have. I love your emails. Email us, and we'll talk about a lot of other things, including probably Blitz, Joyce. Some more. We'll talk then. Bye.